Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. My name is Ray Blevins. I'm your host. My co-host, Joe Zamecki here. And I'd like to welcome you to this week's show. We have a couple guests. We have Mr. David Kent and Harry Quinlan from the Atheist community of Austin. And we've been discussing several of the subjects going on this week, and one of the subjects in the news that's been getting a lot of coverage is this Carla Faye Tucker. And Harry Quinlan here has a short letter he'd like to read about that. Do you mind?
Not at all. This is a letter fax I propose to send to Governor Bush. To the gurney with a lady. I am generally opposed to the death penalty because of the well-publicized executions of innocent convicts. Some 20 known cases in recent years. In the case of Carla Faye Tucker, she has admitted to the crime and is unquestionably guilty. The woman knowingly and with malice aforethought participated in the brutal murder of 2 people. I should like to see her hanged, drawn, and quartered, with her head prominently displayed on a gatepost spike. It is so easy to repent, embrace the cross, exude virtue from every pore, and endlessly boast of one's eternal remorse, pledging good behavior when one is in jail. In point of fact, prison walls prevent crime by simply limiting access to the outer world. Pat Robertson and his sycophantic horde of far-right Christian loonies are pleading for her life. Their usual bloodlust suddenly disappears when one of their own approaches the gurney. Pardoning her or commuting her sentence to life without parole would seem to recognize some special virtue in Christianity, and thus defeat the provisions of the federal and state constitutions. If her Christian belief is sincere and without doubt, she should be most happy and eager to meet her Maker. Do oblige her this opportunity. And
go ahead.
That's what I plan to fax to the governor this afternoon.
That's excellent. My own personal beliefs on the death penalties, I definitely feel that death penalty should be there. We reward the most gifted people in our society here with like the Nobel Peace Prize and things like that. We should be quite willing to be and prepared to punish the worst of us, and she's definitely one of the worst of us. She went through, here it is, been 15 years almost that she's been there, and I agree wholeheartedly with you. How about you, Joe?
This is actually a separate issue from religion in many respects, but at the same time, religion is at the core of this argument. And this is one area where many atheists will disagree. The death penalty, capital punishment, I've met a lot of atheists who disagree with me completely on it, and that's fine. We're all kinds of people, atheists. My own personal opinion is that she should not have been allowed to live this long. That many years on death row, it doesn't matter to me whether she converted or not. Prison is full of these kinds of things. And again, just like you stated, Harry, prison, it's a real easy place to convert someone into a religion for many reasons. If they're not exactly strong-minded or strong-willed in the beginnings, prison is an excellent place to break somebody down emotionally. And if you come out of there without ever having any of those religious pressure problems really affect you badly, then you're doing pretty well. But there is so much religion in prisons. And it, again, you were correct in saying that it is not something that can exonerate this person at all. It doesn't bring back her victims. It's actually, to me, in my opinion, a slap in the face to all victims. And I think her sex or her religion should not have anything to do with whether she goes to that gurney.
And let's get David Kent's opinion on this.
If I were a Christian, I would be embarrassed by what this woman is claiming.
Exactly.
I would not want to be in any way associated with her. I think some people commit a crime that is so terrible, they have no further claim on society's sympathy, I'm not willing to pay the cost of this woman's continued existence. And for her to claim that she'd suddenly changed her life around would have some credence if she'd done it before the crime. It's impossible for her to prove she's legitimate. We see a lot of criminals. If you were on death row, you'd want to be off death row by whatever means, and this is just a simple means to wiggle off. And it should be recognized as that, and it has nothing to do with belief or non-belief. It's just a technique to escape death row, and I wouldn't be sympathetic with this woman. Not me.
So the four of us, but again, there are some atheists out there that are against the death penalty. We're not going to sit here and say all atheists are for the death penalty.
No.
And just like we do have women in our group also. That I don't know if it says more about the male ego of our group that we've only had men on the show yet, but the atheist community of Austin has some wonderful women in the group. A couple of them are in there working in the booth right now, and so if you call in, you'll be talking to them. But another interesting story that's been going on in the news this week is the Pope's visit to Cuba there. You have any views on that?
It's amazing to me. From the atheist standpoint, what's going on there is quite amazing. You've got people from America being allowed to go to Cuba and visit for various reasons. Of course, the press and everybody else, but there's a requirement. If you don't already have family there, I'm not exactly sure on the laws on it, but there's a requirement that your visit there be for the purposes of this religious event. And of course, to an atheist, well, this is rather unfair. Those of us who would like to go to Cuba in the first place. Now, of course, I don't know many people who would, but the situation between Castro and the Pope is rather interesting in that politically, both of them are helping each other out, and the Pope is coming down against the U.S. embargo, and this puts the White House in an interesting position. But I think one of the most important things to remember about this is that religion is alive and well in Cuba. It is not something that has gone so far underground that it doesn't exist or does not have the amount of religious protections inside the own home, the home of the person who is religious. But another thing to remember about Cuba is that Christianity, or the Christianity we know of over here as being dominant over here, is not the number one religion in Cuba. Right. The number one religion in Cuba is Santeria.
Right.
And if most of your Catholics who love the Pope in the United States knew what they did in Santeria, it'd be a little bit more questionable as to why the Pope would be going there in the first place. Simply because it is so widespread in Cuba. And I tell you, when we see the pictures on CNN, that's fine. We can see that and see them doing some rather interesting things. But as far as Catholicism, it's a lot beyond that. What do you think?
Yes, it's Pope mania going on right now. Everywhere I turn around, it's on the newspaper, it's on the news, and everything else. It's turned into one big PR thing for the Catholic Church, and I feel like the press and the media in general is being duped by the Catholic Church. But let's get some opinions from our guest here. Harry?
I was raised a Catholic.
I didn't know that.
Well, I was. And if there's anything that should turn you off religion, it's a good early education in Catholicism. The Pope in Cuba is a rather ridiculous event in many ways. I feel sympathy for the people who are seduced into believing this nonsense, but it's really difficult to determine why Castro wanted the Pope. Obviously, for his own needs. And it is, in a sense, strange that the Pope should go there.
Right.
I mean, He's making a trip into a communist hell. But there he is.
David, anything like to say about that?
Well, I think Castro and the Pope belong to each other. They really are, in their history and what they represent, totalitarian. Religion doesn't have a whole lot to do with it. It's quite, I don't know, here's the Pope with his centuries of tradition behind him, representing an organization that has persisted through all kinds of political structures. I suppose he would look at Castro as saying, well, as small fry, trying to take the sting out of the last communist nation, showing that he can tolerate him. Yeah, it's a mystery. With you, Harry, why Castro would allow him to would bring him in.
All right.
Well, let us consider the Church's great record of accuracy in things past. First of all, many hundreds of years ago, the current belief was that the earth was flat.
All right.
And it was a heresy, that is, it was heretical to spread information that was otherwise. And eventually the Church came around to the belief that the earth was round. Well, that was one thing, but the next big belief was that the sun, the stars, all the planets rotated about the earth. And when this was proved to be a fallacy, the Church eventually came around. One interesting thing, while fundamental Christians are espousing the literal interpretation of the Bible is literal fact, the Pope has backed away from the creation by indicating that evolution is a fact. And with a history of so many wrongs in the past, how is one to believe that the Pope is right in this instance? Do you have any thoughts there, David? Or?
Well, it seems to be image. It's all degenerated to a matter of image anymore. Pope's trying to make headway by showing that we are the new Catholic tolerant church, and Castro has his interest. He knows that a large part of his people are Roman Catholic, and both of them trying to spruce up their public image.
That's an interesting comparison between the Catholic Church and Cuba and Cuba's government, trying to figure out who is the more tolerant, the more lenient of the two. And of course, anybody who knows much about world history knows the Catholic Church has been around for over 1,000 years and has been persecuting people who disagree quite brutally. And
this is where to change the camera. Keep going.
As far as communist Cuba goes, we all know, of course, that communism is not more than 100 years old yet. And as far as communist Cuba goes, of course, again, a very young situation with their government. And if Castro was in his middle ages when he started it, and now is at this age and is still doing quite healthy, this is something that's going to be around for a while. But I think they're using each other. Of course, there's a lot of Catholics in Cuba, and there are a lot of people in the rest of the world who would love to see Fidel Castro be nicer to his people and give them a little religious freedom, a little more anyway. Well, you know, one hand washes the other, and now the Pope, I believe, has left Cuba, is currently right now not in Cuba anymore, and you've got a lot of Catholics in Cuba who are real happy with Fidel Castro, and then you've got a whole lot of people in the rest of the world who are real happy with the Pope, and vice versa. Where does this leave the atheist in his experience and opinion? Well, it's an interesting quandary for us, but I tell you what, we would love to have another country right next to the United States that did not allow such incredible religious persecution of non-believers as what takes place in many countries, including the United States. But this too is also disappearing fast, and when the Pope goes over there and has a hand waiting for him in friendliness and happiness, well, it's great that they're at peace, but we would also like to see a little more freedom from religion, too. We did have a call.
And that's what. We will gladly take your calls. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we had such a multitude of intelligent callers there. And we'll be glad to have them call back. My own personal thing on that, as you were saying there, never quite understood the isolation that we tried to put Cuba in. I understand, especially now that the Cold War is over and everything else. I'd like to see more. Oh, sounds like we have a possible phone problem, but please keep trying. But to bring Cuba, because Cuba was quite an importer of American products there before the embargo started. I understand that they were quite a trading partner, and there was quite a lot of money with tourism and everything else involved. So hopefully this will help start breaking the barriers down and hopefully bring the two of us together. Do we have a call there as well?
Can we try to take this?
Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's quite all right there. And,
I guess we're ready for this then.
No, not yet.
It's got to blink?
We're still working on that. But if you had something you wanted to say here,
Well, I was just thinking of the baptismal rites that the soldiers of Cortez, I believe it was, used to demonstrate. They would take a baby, an infant, hastily baptize it, crack its head over the nearest rock, and dump it down the well. This is baptism, or was baptism in that day.
The Spaniards.
they wanted the child to go to heaven is what the reasoning behind it is. And that's so
interesting.
Yes, I wasn't quite sure where he was going with there. And we're definitely having phone problems here, folks. But we do appreciate you trying there. So my own personal belief here, we're bringing up other world events and everything else. Let's go to Saddam Hussein there. And he's bringing up these weapons of mass destruction and anthrax and all this other stuff. My own feeling is that any problems that we're going to have with that is going to be some religious nut going out there ready to be a martyr and take down a bunch of Americans. We do have a phone problem. It's just been confirmed. Whoops. But we will keep working on the phones there. So keep calling, folks. But my own feeling is science has now brought us to the point where one person can do major damage, and the potential for major damage increases each and every day with each scientific advancement that we make. And my feelings is it's going to be the religion or religious nut out there that is going to use that scientific information to actually, I don't know about bringing the end of the world, but bringing it into a whole country. That they get a nuclear device now, from what I understand, can be, one person could do it and blow up their home, so any...
Well, I'm sure every religious person in the world is very excited at the idea of the millennium.
Yes.
And there's a certain date on which people expect or are even willing to provoke some event. So, you just hope that...
we got one.
It looks like...
a phone call?
We've been asked to have Jay to call back.
Yeah, Jay, call us back.
And the phones are flashing there, but we just don't understand what's going on there. But David brought up an excellent point there, the millennium. Would you like to finish that? Or?
Well, there's really not much precaution you can take against a person who's wants to be Ted Kaczynski on a large scale and take out a whole group.
I was just going to say that religion causes such an emotional upheaval in certain people that Yeah, if you get a button next to your hand that can throw off a bomb somewhere, and then you get the religion into your mind, there's a lot of people that just cannot control themselves when they get religion going in them. All you got to do is turn a couple of dials down on your TV, and you can see some really emotion-packed television programming.
Exactly.
It's all about God, and I really don't think that any clear thinking or any logical, rational reasoning can take place when somebody is so preoccupied with over-emotion, and religion causes that a lot in a lot of people. And that when you get someone like Saddam Hussein, who admittedly his government is not overly theocratic, it's more of a monarchy with him trying to be the king or something, but in Iran, for instance, a really good example of a theocracy, where you've got people in charge who, they could say anything, and because it's religion-backed and because it's controlled by the religion and the hierarchy of the theocracy, his people will do up to anything for him. And it's the new Khamenei guy. It's not Khomeini, it's the new, his last name is K-E something, but it's interesting to watch them in power with all that emotion. Should we try a call?
Yeah, we're going to try a call here.
Air.
Hello? Carol,
Yes.
excuse me.
Yes, hello?
Good morning.
Hi. I was wondering how you guys, what is the difference between an atheist and an agnostic?
We get this question a lot, but we'll just go down the table here and get to the... Go ahead, Joe.
We got this question a couple weeks ago, actually. Okay, an agnostic feels that there must be something, or there might be something, but we can't know as yet, and as far as gods. That some of the ideas put forth about gods may be correct, but as yet we don't have the evidence to know for sure, and we may not be able to know at all. That is the agnostic opinion in general. An atheist goes one step further and closes that window of possibility in their mind, and comes to a point where, upon examination of the various God ideas that have been proposed, decides and realizes that in reality there are no instances of proof. There's all kinds of questionable evidence, but as far as proof, there has not been any demonstrable proof shown to even suggest the existence of a God. And so an atheist is convinced of these things. Now, we don't have the burden of disproving any God ideas. The burden of proof of a God idea or a God's existence lies with the person making the claim that a God exists. So, having said that...
Caller, did you have another point?
I was wondering if all atheists are how they feel about people who do have religious beliefs.
We try not to speak for all atheists. Atheists is such a wide variety of people, but for general, our group, Atheist Community of Austin, is trying to be good citizens and work with all people, no matter what religion, race, creed, whatever else. And we're not a confrontational type. We're not going to be out there screaming in their face, and try to get their, to come to our point of view. But that's the whole idea behind the Atheist Community of Austin. We want to work and be a contributing part of the community without having religion thrown in our face or religion being part of our taxpayers' government.
Okay.
We got a couple guests from the Atheist Community of Austin. Would you like to add anything to that, David?
How do you feel about religious people?
How do I feel about religious people? Oh, I think they've got a wrong view of the world. Of course, they think I do. I think your basic position has to be one of tolerance. You have to allow other people to believe what they want to believe. I get very excited when somebody tries to deny me the right to express my opinion, to believe what I believe. It has to be basically tolerance and exchange of ideas, and I see a lot of religious people who condemn non-believers or condemn other religious people who don't believe as they do, and I really object to that point of view that we have the truth and no one else does. I think that's a dangerous view. I don't think it's a helpful view, and my basic opinion is that any group that tries to deny another group the right of expression is not worth my respect.
Harry?
Well, it seems to me that an atheist position is a position of that I'm wording it poorly, but basically we wish to be free of the religious rules that are placed on the believers.
Oh.
For example, if one is a Muslim, one must pray 5 times a day, fast during the month of Ramadan, and there are any number of other requirements which would be tedious, to say the least, and certainly damaging to one. Christians have similar beliefs. 40 or 50 years ago, there were laws against the operation of a business on Sunday, particularly in Philadelphia. Everything was closed up. The non-religious people were thus prevented from utilizing stores, filling stations, and whatever.
So, caller, did you have another point you would like to make?
No, I think that about covered it.
Okay, I appreciate it. We have another call on the line. Thanks for calling.
You know.
Jay?
Yeah.
Thanks for holding.
Because I see where you say atheist community.
Correct.
What I'd like to go back to, because I'm going back to the history of the Atheists of Austin that I know of and heard of and all of this.
And that is?
Well, okay. First of all, I know there was distinction between the O'Hares. But what I want to know is how close would you, if the guy, let's say the 2 little ones, the littlest guy that's sitting up there, not the bald-headed guy, but the other one. Okay? Well, I know, because I don't know you by name. Sorry about that.
This is Joe, and my name is Ray.
Okay. Ray, what if Joe was critically injured in a real serious wreck?
Okay.
There's no money for him after, say, medical expenses run out, and you're sitting there, I presume that he's a friend of yours.
Right.
Would you, because a while ago y'all were condemning the Catholic Church.
Correct.
I know the Catholic Church has stepped in to help people when there have been these, a crisis in the family and something like this. But I'm not Catholic neither. But anyway, what would y'all do to help each other? How far would you go and how long would you stick with him? This is what I'm trying to find out. How close really of a knit is the atheist group?
So far, we've only been together for a couple of years, but we are definitely getting more. We just started our own blood drive here, or mini blood drive there, to where we'll have we're listed with as an official nonprofit group with the Texas Blood Bank. Anybody that needs help in the group would be more than welcome to help, ask for help. Fortunately, we have not had any serious situation that you described at this point. Mm-hmm. But if somebody needs help moving, they ask someone in the group. We're quite a social family,
Yeah. Because I do that myself, and I'm not a real strong, say, Protestant or something. My sisters and them believe one way. I got a lot of Indian in me, and I go back to my Indian folklore more than I do within the other Christian beliefs.
Right.
But I'm there for them, and I have given as many as 13 hours a day. I did a full hour work shift, 40-hour week plus. But then my time was not my time. It became theirs because they are a member to me. And even friends. I had a friend that had Lou Gehrig's disease. His wife deserted him. And since I'm now retired, I spent my whole day with him for over 9 months, every day, except at night. I gave back to him because I'm brought up into the way of my Indian folklore that you sit there, what you give to someone else, in the long run, you receive in return.
Yes. It would be a greater place if we all lived, with that. But we don't feel that you have to have a religious guidance to be an ethical person.
I think what you've done is great.
Yes.
It certainly is a great humanitarian thing, and you continue to, and that's wonderful. And I would like to say that you're a great person for doing that by yourself, though, without a God and without the need for one. And whatever your beliefs are, that's great. We respect that. But it's important to note that you as a human being did that. You sacrificed your time.
Because I know once there was a sickness, I'm not going to go into the whole detail, with those hairs. One of them pulls out, the other two, the granddaughter and all this, got a big hassle. It became very open. So that's what made me ask the question, because I saw quite a bit of dissension right then and there. And if there was no bond right within the blood kin of the family, I'm wondering really where did it stand. And I thank you for answering my questions. And
you have a good day now.
All right.
Thank you.
We might bring up the point that Joe is a member of the American Atheists. David Kent used to be. Are you still listed with them?
I'm a life member.
You're a lifetime member.
Yeah.
So,
I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, Harry.
Surrounded by
3 life members here.
Yes.
Okay.
And, so they know a little bit about the O'Hare family and everything else, but just because one atheist family had bad blood doesn't mean all atheist families are. Would you like to say anything about your family?
My immediate or Madalyn
or Madalyn's, either one, since you know more about it.
Well, I do know that Madalyn took a good deal of care when her brother had medical difficulties. She was actually a compassionate person. She had a plan. She always had in the back of her mind many projects and schemes, and she wanted to develop an atheist hospital and an atheist retirement home. She was very socially minded. Personally, she was very offensive because she was very abrupt with people. But she was concerned about that issue, that atheists were not strong enough in this country that we could actually provide for our own.
Right. Well, if you don't mind, we got another caller. If you don't mind,
the woman behind the movement, as against the woman who was in the media,
yes,
was a very, despite her faults and failings, she was a compassionate person in her way. Yeah.
Madalyn O'Hare is definitely the first person everybody thinks of when they think of an atheist,
sure.
And we're here to try to show that there's more than just that person there.
Yeah.
So let's see who this caller is. Jane, right?
Yes.
Good morning.
Hi. This is the first time I've seen your show, and my question is this. I don't understand how a person gets to be an atheist. All my life, I've been taught that there's a God. I went to Sunday school, not all the time, but every now and then. And my folks, even though they didn't go to church, they taught me about God. And I just don't understand how somebody doesn't have a belief. How did it happen? I mean, I just don't understand how you can live without a belief.
Okay, David looks...
Everyone here began as we were all taught religion as children, weren't we? I don't know about you, Ray. Were you?
It sounded like showing up. Yeah. Yes. Let's go to David here, and we'll just go around here. Yes.
Well, I was raised to be a religious fanatic, and I really was for several years. I was a very successful religious fanatic. And this is not what you're asking about, of course. I think you're just saying fanaticism was not a part of it, but a person brought up religious. I went for several years, 30-some-odd years, before it ever occurred to me that there wasn't a God. The question in my mind was, how sure am I that I'm in the right church, the true church, as opposed to somebody else down the street who was in another church? And I never questioned the idea that there was a God behind the universe. And it was after I was married and had children before that idea ever occurred to me, and it was thanks to Madalyn O'Hare, who talked about the God idea, that brought it back one more step and said, you think about that. And then I began to see that the God idea was something that religious people depended on, promoted, but couldn't defend. There was no defense for it. That all the standard proofs of the existence of God failed. And the more I thought about it, the more I looked into it, the clearer it came to me that religious people were professional, I'm talking about the clergy, were promoting a bogus worldview. That Well, it wasn't, it was basically step by step. I just didn't become a believer one day, non-believer the next day, but more and more things became apparent to me that I wasn't in touch with the real world, and I better get myself that way for the sake of my family.
Well, not to cut you out, because we have several callers here, but we'll get Harry's opinion here in a second, but let's, line 2? Mm-hmm. 3. Let's go to line 3. Lawrence?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
And what is your question?
Well, I don't know if I had a question. I just wanted
or your comment then?
Yeah, just a comment. I've just been kind of thinking a lot about the cosmos in general, yada yada. And from my perspective, I sometimes come up with the idea that perhaps what we live in sometimes is just a subtle mechanism, if you will, like a machinery of how things are, and a lot of the parts of that thing are not able tangibly to be measured by us yet. And so what we count for, God, or what we count for, as being, a divine entity, may well just be a more subtle mechanism that we just are not able to tangibly measure right at this time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, atomics, you're only dealing with, say, right now, at least in the history of, atomic measurement, probabilistic propensities. I mean, they're ascribing things like that. That's not a tangible measurement at all, but it's an attempt. And I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, that there's a lot of people who do ascribe, deific.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I hope.
Yesterday's magic was attributed to gods, where today that's could attributed to science and
or nature,
or whatever else. And I think I'm not. If I can paraphrase what you're saying, that,
please, go ahead.
The more we learn about nature, the more we understand, that there really isn't a God. At least in my point of view.
Well, I'm a Hindu, and I study Ayurveda, which is a health science. It just for me, it's helped to shape the fact that we do live in something of a mechanism, and not necessarily. I wouldn't call it a predetermined mechanism by any stretch, but definitely a mechanism of things. There's a sort of a rhythm. As a matter of fact, we get our American word from the Sanskrit rhythm for the cosmic rhythm from Ayurveda. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. That just
I appreciate your call.
Okay, man.
You take care now. Let's go to Keith on line 2. Good morning, Keith.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Excellent.
I'd like to find out, do y'all have like a meeting hall or a church, not a church because you're not a religion, but do you like have regular scheduled things, and where do you meet? Can both religious and non-religious people come to your meetings?
Yeah, excellent point there. Go ahead, Joe.
Yes, we have weekly meetings on Sundays. Approximately 10:30 a.m. till noon. Usually we finish up then, and it's real informal, social type discussion meetings. We do have some business type meetings that take place, but they're not every Sunday. And at 10:30 we let loose, and we just discuss or hang out and drink coffee, bagels. This is at the Hot Jumbo Bagelry, 5th and San Antonio, right?
Lavaca.
Or thereabouts.
Yeah.
On 5th Street, we know that. And we also have a website. Get your pencils out. You should learn this. www.atheist-community.org. I'm saying that again a little later. But we also have a voicemail number. That's not the number either. It'll come up a little later. We'll talk about that too.
But it's open to the public. We pretty much don't debate whether or not there is a God, or everybody comes in is under the assumption that there is no God, and we're there to discuss current events and what we can do on religion and everything else. Yeah. And it looks like David has a point here to make.
I want to mention the lecture series that we've just begun.
Excellent point.
This is going to be held over at First Cafeteria, North Cross Mall, on the first Sunday of each month, and February 1st, March 1st from 11 to 12. And this is certainly open to the public, and we're going to get people who have something to say about atheism. The first meeting is going to be, or lecture is going to be presented by Jay Jacobson, who's the director of the ACLU, about issues of separation of church and state in the last Texas legislature. And that would be of interest, I would think, to a large number of people watching this program. That's going to be February 1st, 11 to 12, over at Fur's Cafeteria in North Cross Mall. No cost, open to the public, and we'd like to see you there.
All right, thank you. Keith?
Yes.
Anything else?
Yeah. Do you have meetings like every Sunday?
Correct.
Are you gonna like this Sunday?
Yes. When we leave here, we're heading right down there as soon as we leave here.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
All right. You take care now.
Thank you.
We have Ed on line 1.
Yes. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. I guess I just heard you say that you guys don't normally debate the question.
Well, we do on the phone call. We don't at our weekly meetings.
Right.
Everybody there is, we're past that point. But that's what we're here for with the phone calls. We will gladly debate you on the phone here.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't really want to debate. I just was kind of curious, though. I guess you
go right ahead.
Ask the question. I mean, but, what if you're wrong?
What if I'm wrong?
Well, I mean, if there is in fact a God.
We all go to hell, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, wouldn't you want to know about him?
I'm pretty confident in my decision. So anything that happens in the afterlife, there is no afterlife. So I'm not. I'm trying to do the best I can with the time given here, and while I'm here, because that's what counts.
Well, I would like to jump in on this one.
Sure.
I think most atheists subscribe to this scientific method. And if we discover through the scientific method that there is some kind of God somewhere that controls, or a mechanism that controls the universe, we will be among that very first group to announce it. And we would take it as a part of the reality that we know, if there is such a thing. We know from experience of centuries that it's very unlikely. But we do try to keep an open mind on that question.
Well, certainly by the scientific method, you cannot prove that there is no God.
That's not what the scientific method is designed
I don't think you understand it, yeah.
You're talking about disproving an idea that can't be proven to begin with, and that's the beauty of the experimental method, the scientific experimental method. You've made the claim that a God exists somewhere, somehow, therefore it is your burden of proof lies with you, the person who is claiming that a God exists. And until that can be proven, I guess through the scientific method, it is not logical nor reasonable for an atheist to accept it or to accept the possibility.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought Aristotle had proved the existence of God.
No. I'd have to see more research on that. That's a new one on me.
Harry, you?
Well, I don't want to get into Aristotelian logic, but we really see no evidence of the divine being, so to speak. God in the Christian religion is said to be a most merciful entity. And it's very difficult to reconcile his alleged mercy with all the misery and trouble in this world, with people like Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin and Pol Pot. Where was God all this time that he would permit this? Now the Bible tells of divine vengeance or wrath, so to speak. And in that respect, God resembles a tyrannical ruler more than a beneficent being. Beneficence, where is it?
Well, you have to juxtapose the teaching of free will with all of that. I mean, primarily God is the creator of the universe in the mind of the people who accept, that was my understanding, that Aristotle had demonstrated the existence of a prime mover. And so the first principle of God is that he created the universe, and then, of course, Christians believe that he created men with a free will.
I think it would probably be much more effective in what a Christian wants to do or a religious person wants to do to try to prove that God exists, if they were to find that God and then produce it for the general public. And it would have to be pretty impressive, too, in this day and age of technology. I think it would have to be 900 feet tall and throwing lightning bolts and fire everywhere. Other than that, no evidence is going to convince us of something that outlandish.
Do you have any other points you'd like to make?
No, I certainly appreciate your candidness.
I appreciate your call. Yeah, have a good day now.
Bye.
Good morning, John.
I have two questions for you.
Sure.
First question is, if you don't believe in God, what do you believe in?
Oh, fun.
I don't believe any supernatural, anything that's beyond our physical being in earth here, whatever else. And just the fact you use the word believe, because you start getting into the semantics of what belief is. Belief is convinced that something's going to happen just because, with no fact to support it. Is when you believe, when you're thinking and reasoning, there is fact and evidence for what your faith and convictions or whatever else. David had an excellent point here.
I was just going to say I believe the sun's going to come up tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay.
That's likely to happen.
Okay.
I have a strong belief
Go ahead, Nick.
death and taxes and the certainty of political comedy.
Okay. You had two questions, sir. Go ahead.
Talk a little bit about atheism and spirituality.
Okay.
That comes under the realm of the supernatural. So again, me personally as an atheist, I don't believe in psychics, witchcraft, any magic. Magic is just something science hasn't figured out yet.
Can I comment on the
ahead,
spirituality part of it? I think spirituality, as the way people are thinking about it now, the new spiritualism, so to speak, relatively new concept being that the Christian churches of even as late as 200-300 years ago would have frowned upon that very badly, simply because it is not the literal interpretation that they prescribe. And if you were to try to tell them, don't bother taking all of the Bible literally, you may very well have been killed right there. So if you talk about spirituality without the literal part of the Christian dogma or the Christian history, the Bible's creation and then the Great Flood, literal ideas that are written in the Bible like that to be taken literally, then the church would have very much castigated you even just 200 years ago. Nowadays, though, I think it's a way for people to get away from the hateful and brutal dogmas of a major organized religion.
That's not what I'm talking about exactly. I'm talking about belief in the human spirit. I would assume that you...
No.
Actually, I would assume that atheists would need to really be the most spiritual people out there.
Well, you mean our intellect, our minds, our emotions. That, if you want to know,
I mean, what's inside of you that makes you alive?
The carbon-based molecules, the same thing that makes the dog alive, that makes the cat alive, that makes the fish alive. Well, I think you're talking about a soul, and there's no scientific evidence for a soul. What is your soul? Where is your soul?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, where is my soul?
Yeah.
Well, it's talking to you right now.
Oh, it is. Oh, so I'm talking to your soul, John's soul. We have a soul on the air.
Terrific.
That's right, you do have a soul on the air.
Okay. We have several other callers. Do you have anything else?
No, go ahead.
I appreciate your call. You have a good day.
Thank you.
Don't want him to be the sole person.
Let's go with Rudy on line one. They've been there. Rudy?
Hello? Ameet?
Caller? Well, I guess we're going to jump on down to another call.
Sorry.
Ameet?
Hi. I just had a comment.
Sure.
It's to believers out there about non-believers. We have to be convinced of something to believe it. You can't blame people for not believing something. There has to be something. I mean, it's like asking a person to believe that there are people on Mars eating hamburgers right now. You can't just believe something because there's a majority of people saying it's going on. You have to convince them.
Correct.
And that's... so you can't. It's not a choice. That's the main point I wanted to make.
Yes.
Belief is not a choice.
That's a fine point about the word belief, is that I think the most literal definition of belief would be something that is compulsory. You cannot decide to believe in something.
Exactly.
By that definition. And of course, it's been co-opted, just like spirituality has been co-opted by religious people to expand it into something that they can do willfully, or have free will, or what have you. But belief. You need something more than just somebody telling you for you to believe something. Other than that, if you don't, then you have a problem, because you can believe what everybody will tell you. And let me tell you, there's a lot of liars out there in the world, and there's a lot of times when it becomes very necessary and very helpful to a person for them to doubt. And this is how a great deal of scientific advancements have come about, is somebody said, wait a minute, that can't be right, let's check it out for sure. And then science kicked in with the experimental method, and we found the truth. Now, it has nothing to do with what you believe or what you want to believe or what you want to have happen. Science, in an unbiased way and an emotionless way, goes about finding the real facts on something using a step-by-step method that does not have bias for any belief one way or the other.
Any other point there,
No,
Colin?
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your call. Let's go to John. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Earlier I heard you say, I think you pointed out rightfully, that with the availability of all this technological progress, that certainly it's become more and more dangerous to have these concentrations of power that people can potentially abuse.
Correct.
Now, the word abuse implies, to me, a sense that there is a rightful use, a wrongful use, and from your conversation earlier today, I do get a sense that there is some sort of moral or at least ethical system at play in your sort of, I guess, worldview. But I guess my question is that if there is an ethical system, some sort of sense of right or wrong, how does this jive in with a sort of, I guess, more or less, I think it's fair to say, materialistic world view, when basic ethical and moral principles, at least as far as I understand it, have to be traced back to some sort of moral axioms that cannot, in fact, be scientifically or empirically proven.
Evolution could very easily have brought about a social being. The person that works and contributes to the herd, the group, or whatever, your little nomad team going through the desert is going to survive a lot quicker than the evil, nasty person that doesn't want to be part of the group, and goes off on his own. So,
right,
it's very easily that, that could have been trained in us and through an evolutionary process.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. I guess then you're saying that essentially the greatest good is survival. I mean, why should survival be valued any so highly? I mean, especially in such a world.
Every species on this planet is here to continue its chain here. If you go all the way back to the very basics of the DNA, for it to continue on through the line there and everything else, it comes a natural process through evolution and survival of the fittest. That the one that does the better life is actually going to go on a little farther.
So, okay, what I'm hearing then, survival of the fittest, I mean, is that essentially a statement of, in a way, might makes right? I mean,
no.
Way back then, when it was the caveman versus caveman or something like that, but now that we have civilization and laws, we have other reasons to behave. And we have other reasons to have ethics and morals. And I think one of your questions was, how does an atheist get his ethics or morals, so to speak? And I think the biggest answer would have to be from my parents.
But the point I was trying to make there, it just slipped my...
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Survival of the fittest does not mean the strongest. It could mean the smartest. It could be the fastest. It does not mean might. That's the point I was trying to make. And it looks like Harry and David also had some points they were trying to...
I would like to add to that, as far as survival of the fittest, such virtues as altruism and generosity do have a practical place in, if you want to call it, survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest is not the survival of the cruelest and the most muscular.
May I interrupt?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Harry.
Survival of the fittest is survival of those who are most fit for the environment in question. That's
Good.
all it is.
Okay.
It lacks any moral compass.
Okay, I guess, but it seems to me that then when you're talking about decisions between whether to take one action or another, you're moving towards, I mean, not to get into Aristotelian logic too much, but you do have sort of a vision to an end. You're saying the end that we're moving towards is survival. Earlier, I believe one of you said that you got your sort of moral view from your parents. I mean, it seems to me that this is, in a sense, you're accepting survival or these moral precepts handed down from parents or from whatever experiences you may have, more or less on blind faith, a blind faith that in some sense doesn't really differ from that of the blind faith of the religious zealot. I mean, even a crackpot like they have over in Iran.
I don't know.
I'm not criticizing you for that. I mean, I'm just saying that I think that this is something that is unavoidable. If you want to have a moral system distinguishing between right and wrong, it involves, in some sense, you have to accept some sort of end on faith, because
I don't know.
No, I've agreed with him to this point, and here I disagree. I think some of the best. The most useful ethical systems in history have been non-religious based, and by that I mean the Code of Hammurabi. You compare that with the Ten Commandments, and you'll see that the Hammurabi Code, which was non-religious, strictly a socially arranged set of rules, was a much more practical system than the Ten Commandments ever could have hoped to be.
Well,
sure.
Sorry, Colin. I'm running out of time here. I do appreciate calling. We'll be live 2 weeks from today, so feel free to call back.
Okay, thank you very much.
You have a good day.
You too.
Okay, let's go ahead and wind it down there. Go.
I'd like to repeat our web address. That's www.atheist-community.org. And we are the Atheist Community of Austin. This is the Atheist Experience.
And my name is Ray Blevins. Our guest has been Harry Quinlan and David Kemp from the Atheist Community of Austin. Like I said, we'll be live again 2 weeks from today, which would be February 7th.
I don't know. We'll have a taped show, though, next Sunday, right?
Yes, it'll be taped, so it won't be a live call-in. We do appreciate all the callers. We've had some intelligent callers, and we're definitely looking forward to it. We still got time here.
Channel 16, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Sunday mornings. That's the Atheist Experience.
Yes.
And we seem to have a slogan: enjoy reality.
There you go.
There you go.
That's very good.
I like that. Anything you'd like to finish up with?
We're going to have some women on this program, believe it or not.
We'd like to thank real quick Howard. We appreciate it, your work, and Kellen, everybody else.
Kellen's work, and Sue on the phones there. We've got some great people helping here.